3 days.
Okay, I am ready to rock and roll whenever you guys are now.
Hall Sports All Plays. Hall Sports All Plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. Hall Sports All Plays. Network. Hall Sports All Plays. Network. We on top of our game. Hall Sports All Plays. Hall Sports All Plays.
What is up, everybody? How we doing tonight?
We're chilling.
All right. We're here on a Wednesday night with the Sports Minute, and we're going to get in some great topics tonight. But before we do that, what should we talk about? Let's see. Should we start with those amazing shirts? How do we get a shirt? Vic, tell me. How do we get in the running to get a free shirt?
All you got to do is watch our show, because we're the best show, and just comment with us, chat with us, tell us what you think. The more comments to make, the more chances you have to win, and it doesn't cost you anything. No membership, no entry fee required.
That's right. That is right. And
I'm
Ace,
always right.
Ace, let me ask you, if you do not win that shirt for the month, for being the member of the month, how is there another way to get one of those great shirts?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So all you have to do is, if you really, really want a shirt, because we all know how awesome those shirts are. So all you have to do is hit us up on Facebook, or you can even message me and let me know and be like, hey, Ace, I want one of those awesome shirts. And guess what? All you have to do is pay $25 in shipping and handling, and you can get those awesome shirts. $25 plus shipping and handling. That is it. And you will be rocking one of those awesome ASAP Sports Network shirts.
All right. Hey, one more question for you, Vic, before we get this show going.
What up?
So our sponsor there, Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry.
Yes.
By the way, her phone number is 541-294-5218. You get on paparazziaccessories.com/160-920. That is our code. $5 jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. All products are lead and nickel free. By the way, if you're an ASAP Sports viewer, which all of you, of course, are because you're watching us right now, you have a special offer. You get a free necklace when you order a pair of earrings for $5. All that for $5. So is that a great deal or what, Vic?
That's a fantastic deal. I ordered my jewelry on, I think it was Friday, and it's supposed to be here tomorrow. I'm going to sport it on Saturday. It's pretty awesome.
All right. So I think I'm going to switch this over to Ace, and he's going to get us rolling on the first, because he wants to talk about NASCAR first. And let's be honest. I can hang and talk about NASCAR, but NASCAR is not my forte. It's not my cup of tea, if you will. It's not my big topic. So we're going to defer this one to Ace because it's his thing, but we'll also give you some analysis on that. How's that sound, everybody? Ace, take it off.
Right. So the first thing I want to start out with is, hey, Nate, how about you take some of that humble pie and pop that up there on the screen? Because there's one reason why I want to pop that humble pie up there on the screen, because you all are about to eat some humble pie. Because if I remember right, for the last couple weeks, you guys have been saying that bad man and Kevin Harvick was going to win the NASCAR championship this year. Well, guess what? That bad man and Kevin Harvick is not even in the Final Four. He didn't make the cut. So guess who was not winning the NASCAR championship this year? Is that Kevin Harvick's not. You can take that humble pie off the screen now. So with that being said, this past weekend, why you might want to ask and be like, so why didn't Kevin Harvick make it? Well, Kevin Harvick did not make it because Chase Elliott won this past weekend. However, a lot had to go wrong for Kevin Harvick not to make it in that Final Four. And everything that had to go wrong went wrong for Kevin Harvick. Chase Elliott dominated that race. He won it. So now our Final Four that we have Joey Logano, we have Chase Elliott, we have Denny Hamlin, and then, oh, that's right, we have that man in Brad Keselowski, which I said was going to win the championship. So that's why I made you guys go ahead and eat that humble pie. So I'll go ahead and I'll start out with J-Mac on this one. J-Mac, are you ready to eat that humble pie on Kevin Harvick yet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will eat that humble pie because I was wrong. And sometimes as an analyst that happens. By the way, I got to tell you, I'm sporting the USA shirt tonight. And let me explain why. Because much like this debate that we're having right now, we can both be on an opposite side and we could still get along. I don't have to sit here and tell you that my opinion's better than yours or that my person was better than yours. No matter what side I'm on, we can do that. We are all together in this, and we can have a great show even if we're on different sides. So, yeah, I'll eat that humble pie. Kevin Harvick didn't make it. Let's go Joey Logano.
Oh, you're going Joey Logano. And the interesting thing about that is Joey Logano was actually the first man who actually got into the chase. So right now, everyone is saying that Joey Logano is the favorite in this. Now, Brad Keselowski is no longer that number 4, as you would call it. The wild card in this one is actually Chase Elliott. He's now the wild card. Everybody pretty much has Joey Logano pegged in this one. I'm still sticking with that man and Brad Keselowski. So now I have to go to the Vic on this one and see if she's ready to eat that humble pie and admit that she was wrong and see how she feels about this now.
Well, let me tell you. I don't remember any of this incident that you're saying happened. I remember vaguely just picking a name out of a hat because it sounded cool. And it's good to be Thanksgiving, and I like pie. So if I said it, I'll eat the pie, not a problem. But I'm pretty sure I said something in reference to Chase Elliott. I swear I picked him. I really did. But you know what? I'm old. I got chemo brain. Things happen.
If you picked Chase Elliott, I'm pretty sure you said Kevin Harvick. But you know what? You want Chase Elliott? That's fine. You can go with Chase Elliott. So now we're on three different things here. I have Keselowski, J-Mac. You went with Joey Logano, and now it sounds like the Vic is going with Chase Elliott. And so to keep in mind, everybody, this final race for the NASCAR championship is actually taking place on Sunday. And I think this is going to be a fantastic race. So please don't miss out on this. It's going to be awesome from start to finish. So please come in so we can cheer on Brad Keselowski as he brings home that championship, like I'm saying. And then I can't wait to come in on Wednesday again and make these guys eat some humble pie again when Brad Keselowski takes that championship home. Now, what happens if Denny Hamlin comes in and wins this thing and none of us have Denny Hamlin pegged to win this thing?
Didn't I say his name in error last week or something? So maybe
I think you did.
You did. I think you combined a couple names, but here's what I think. I think since the three of us are on three different racers here, I think the only fair thing is that by default, our producer behind the scenes, Nate the Great, he gets pegged with Denny Hamlin. So now we're all 4 on 4 different ones. And he could make us eat some humble pie on Wednesday. How's that sound, Nate? Yep, you're giving us a thumbs up from behind the scenes there. So that's good. So either way, someone's going to have to eat humble pie.
And our buddy Mess Around actually messaged here, and Mess Around is actually saying that he is actually choosing Joey Logano. So he's also going on the side of J-Mac and going with Joey Logano. So
he's a Bears fan, doesn't count.
So one of us on Wednesday is eating that humble pie. I'm just saying. So somebody be ready because one of us is going to eat that humble pie.
No, but here's the thing: why Mess Around takes Joey Logano, because Mess Around, he don't mess around. He don't mess around when it comes to picking winners, except the Chicago Bears.
Right. Oh, so we actually have another.
Drop the mic. Boom.
So I will say we have another guest, in Lisa Halverson, and I want to give a shout out to Lisa and say, how's it going tonight? Thank you for watching the show. I hope you're having a great time. She also has Joey Logano picked too. So, like I said, Joey Logano is going into this thing like everybody has him pegged to win. So
is this a big humble pie for them to share, or are they going to have to each have their own individual humble pies?
If Joey Logano loses this thing, everybody's going to eat that humble pie because everyone's pegging Joey Logano because he's that number 1 seed. So obviously people like to go with that. They don't like to go with the underdog. But that's why I took that Brad Keselowski, because he was originally going in at number 4. So originally, he's not now, but that's okay. I'm still taking that bad man and Brad Keselowski. So, with that being said, now we're gonna focus our shift off of NASCAR here, and we are actually gonna go to who we believe are the top 5 quarterbacks in Minnesota Vikings history. We're going to go with the top 5. And when I did my top 5, I don't know. I think you guys might be surprised on a few of them. But I'll go ahead and I'll start out with J-Mac on this one. So, J-Mac, go ahead and give me your top 5.
Oh, man. I wasn't as prepared as I should have been for this. But I'll tell you what. I got my 5 anyway. And you know what? You will be surprised at who I picked. I'm going to tell you now. You'd be surprised at who my top one is. Maybe not. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. So, here we go. Number 5. Man, this one pains me to say because this is my childhood icon. Got to say it. But the man had 2 great years in Minnesota. Almost took him to the Super Bowl. Number 5, I got to put Brett Favre on the list. Even though he had 2 years there, he still did so much in Minnesota. You know, he was considered one of their top 10 players of all time when they did their list on the NFL Network. So I got to put him there. Number 4. Number 4 might surprise a lot of people. But I actually – yeah, I'm going to go with it. Number 4, I actually took excuse, I'm blanking his name. I don't know why right now. Hold on, I'll get there. Number 4 is actually, you know what? I'll go to number 3. I can't think of number 4. Well, I don't know why I can't. Anyway, number 4 is when Randall Cunningham played for them. He had a couple good years. Cunningham did a good job there in Minnesota. Number 3, Warren Moon, when he played with Minnesota. He had some good years in Minnesota as well. Number 2, this might shock some people. Number 2, Dante Culpepper. Him and Moss. Man, that team was rolling in '98. Too bad they missed that field goal in the championship game because they were probably winning the Super Bowl that year, to be honest. Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Dante Culpepper at the helm, Robert Smith running the ball. Countless defensive players. That was probably their best team ever. And number 1, how can you go with anyone at number 1 except Fran Tarkenton? Because Fran Tarkenton is the one quarterback that's taken the Vikings to the Super Bowl. And, by the way, he was probably the first big dual-threat quarterback in NFL history. And when he retired, he had a bunch of quarterback passing records. There's my 5.
All right. So that was J-Mac's 5. So this one I'll go ahead and I will give to the Vic.
All right. I agree with a few of those. But I got them in different orders. Number 5, I got my man. I had a shadow box of him back in my early 20s, but it was a Houston Oiler jersey at the time with my little starter action figure of Mr. Warren Moon. I know he's a Husky. I don't hold it against him because Warren Moon was my first man crush after Han Solo. We're going to go that far. So Warren Moon, number 5. Number 4, Randall Cunningham. I mean, he's an Eagle most of his time, but when he was with Minnesota, he racked it up. He did really good. I liked him a lot, even though it was only for a couple years. Number 3, Joe Cap. Anybody remember Joe Cap?
Mhm.
There for a couple years. Not a big name, but very decent quarterback for the Vikings. Number 2, I got Dante Culpepper. Because, I mean, come on. Like J-Max said, with Chris Carter, Moss, unstoppable. And number 1's going to shock you because it's not a popular decision. Are you ready? Kirk Cousins, number 1. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Fran Tarkington, all the way.
I was going to be like, wait a minute. I'm about to walk off set here.
Yeah,
what happens?
Fran Tarkington. I mean, come on. The hair.
Yeah.
Fran Tarkington.
the man.
Absolutely.
Fran the man.
Fran the man. Fran the man.
Fran the
So I do like your guys' list. So before I go into my number 5, so J-Mac and the Vic, like I was saying before, when Lisa Halverson said that she also was taking Joey Logano, the funny thing is that she said that if Joey Logano does not win, she will actually cook the humble pie. That's actually what she said. She's like, I will actually cook the humble pie myself. So I was like, okay, cool. All right. So now I'll go into my top 5 list. And, you know, J-Mac, I must say, the one thing that pained me is that number 5, you went with Brett Favre. I so wanted to do it, but the thing was, I just can't do it. I cannot put my man on the top 5 list for Minnesota. It pained me to see him there. I can't do it. I just couldn't do it. So my number 5, I had to go with Warren Moon. How could you not go with Warren Moon on this list? So I completely agreed with you guys with Warren Moon, except I put him at number 5. My number 4, it might surprise you that I put him in number 4, except it was the Vic also put him in number 4 too, Randall Cunningham. Yeah, he was there for a couple years, but he actually had some good years when he played with Minnesota. So obviously he's there. He's got to be in their top 5. Number 3, Dante Culpepper. I mean, you guys have pretty much covered this already. Look at that team he had, man. That team was stacked. He had so many good receivers on that team. It was crazy how good of a team they had. And Vic, I have to give you a shout out from Suzanne Culver Barber. She said, "Good job, Vic. That was funny." She's talking about the Kirk Cousins thing, so she said that was funny. So my number 2, and I might get flack for this, and it might surprise some of you, but my number 2, I actually went with Tommy Kramer. I think Tommy Kramer for Minnesota was a very underrated Minnesota Viking quarterback. He played for them for about 11 years, and he actually did pretty good with the Vikings. He put up some numbers, so he's obviously not the best. And we all know where I'm going with number 1. We all have him at number 1 because he was the greatest quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings ever, and Fran Tarkington. How could you not have Fran Tarkington as the best Minnesota Viking ever? He's obviously not. It's not even close. Not even close.
You're right. It's not close, Ace. And the reason for that is because can you, without looking it up, by the way, can you name one other Minnesota Viking quarterback that was a surefire Hall of Famer when that didn't play for another team? Let's add that in there. That didn't play for another team that was a surefire Hall of Famer the second they retired from the Minnesota Vikings.
There isn't one. There isn't one. I'm telling you that now.
One. No. So it's not even close.
All right. So I'm looking at. Okay, no, I was just reading a comment there. Sorry. So, yeah, that's just one of those things. So, but Minnesota Vikings. Now, keep in mind that Minnesota is also one of the teams that they've made it to the Super Bowl 4 times in the history of the NFL, but they have 0 rings, so they're 0-4 in the Super Bowl. But I give props for Fran Tarkington for at least taking them there. So
they're the Buffalo Bills in purple.
Good job, Mr. Fran Tarkington.
The difference is though is that the Bills made 4 in a row, and yeah, they lost, but
So
they made 4 in a row.
Yeah,
in a row.
So you know what's kind of interesting about that, and this has always been on my mind. It's so if you're a Bills fan and you make it the first year, you go, okay, we made it, we're there, and then you lose, and then you come back the next year and you make it again. You go, okay, well, last year we lost, but this year it's our year, and then you come out and you lose again, and then you make it a third year. Do you finally, after in the third year, you get there? Do you finally go, okay, 3 times a charm? Or at that point, are you like, oh man, this sucks? And then you lose again. And then when you come back a 4th time, you go, you know what? We're here a 4th time, but how the heck are we going to screw it up this year? Like as a Bills fan, is that's what's going through your mind? Or are you like, you know what? The 4th time is a charm. What do you guys think? What do you think the Bills fans were thinking at that point?
Yeah. I think you're pretty right on with that. It's like, how can you mess this up 4 times in a row? But you know what? They did. And, I think something, though, that a lot of people don't look at is the fact that you're talking about a team, Scott Norwood, who was one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history.
Shanks it.
Shanks it. And he's not even remembered for what he did as far as he's not remembered for what he did as being one of the best, most accurate kickers of all time. He's remembered for missing the field goal in the Super Bowl that lost.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about those 4 consecutive ones, and I'm not trying to get too far off topic, but I like this topic because this is a fun one. But I think what's so funny about those 4 consecutive Super Bowls that the Bills played in is that when you look at their overall scores in those 4 games, it seemed like every game got worse. They slowly would get blown out more and more every single Super Bowl. That first one against the Giants was like the closest one, and then the next year they came out and I think they lost by like 10 or 15, and then the next year after that they lost by 20, and then the year after that they even lost worse. So it kept getting worse as the years went on. So that's why I was like, if you're a Bills fan at that point, you're thinking, man, we can't screw it up a 4th time. What do you think, Vic?
Yeah, you just close your eyes and pray for something to change. And unfortunately, it did change, but it changed for the worst.
Right?
Yeah, you didn't. Nobody ever wanted to own up to being a Bills fan back then. They're like, oh, how does it sound? How does it feel? Oh, it feels great. Thanks. I love watching my team lose 4 years in a row. Fantastic. Let's do it again.
Circle the wagons.
Yeah.
And then, so is that worse though? Is it worse that they lost 4 in a row, or that then after losing the last one there in, what was it, 95, I believe, is the last time they went and they lost. Then they missed the playoffs a couple of years. They go back to the playoffs in 99, and we all know what happened with the Music City Miracle in Tennessee, which is the most controversial play in the history of the NFL, by the way.
It was a backwards pass.
I'm just saying it's the most talked about play in NFL history. But then after that, it takes you 18 years to get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, and then when you get back after 18 years, you score 3 points and you lose to Jacksonville 10-3 in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's so funny about that is when you look at that game between Jacksonville and Buffalo, do you know who the 2 starting quarterbacks in that game were? Number 1 for Jacksonville was Blake Bortles.
Oh,
and
God.
Number 2 for Buffalo was Nathan Peterman. So it's like, man, 2 horrible names starting at quarterback.
And I got to tell you real quick on Nathan Peterman, I'm not trying to get off topic here, but here's what I'm saying is Nathan Peterman was in that game. He threw – we all know how bad he was, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now think about this. I've never been on this whole thing that Colin Kaepernick deserves to be back in the NFL. But Nathan Peterman has been on 3 NFL teams since he played for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a minute. They picked him over Colin Kaepernick.
And the dude has thrown like a combined total of like 1 touchdown in his career as opposed to like 11 picks. So, and 5 of those picks were in 1 half. 1 half. It wasn't even a whole game. It was 1 half. So
he threw something like, let's see, 9 passes in that game and 5 of them were intercepted.
Yeah, it was against the Chargers, and he threw 5 in the first half. And then
I bet the Chargers blew the lead in the second half.
And then in the second half, well, because in the second half they benched him in the second half, and who they bring in? They brought in a man of Tyrod Taylor, who originally they benched Tyrod in favor of Nathan Peterman, and I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. But
they benched Tyrod. That I believe is the same game in which, oh man, his name escapes my mind, but he walked into the locker room and left. He was like, forget this, I'm out of here.
You're talking about Vontae Davis.
That was it. He walked in the locker room and didn't go back out.
He retired at halftime.
He retired at halftime.
That's the first time in the history of the NFL that you've ever seen that. Vontae Davis retires at halftime.
That's how bad that was. He watched that first half and he was like, you know what?
I'm good.
There's no amount of money that's worth this. I'm done.
Right. So, and well, you got to keep in mind, like that was the year that everybody thought that they were. Yeah, it was that bad. But anyways, so going on to the next topic, and we're going to talk about this topic. Is Mess Around really wanted us to touch on this topic because it's a legitimate question. So as we know, COVID is going around right now, and if you test positive for COVID, you have to miss time. So
what is COVID?
COVID.
What is COVID?
Apparently, it's any symptom you have that remotely anything that makes you sick or anything.
Right. So
I call it the Rona.
Ah, okay. Now we're on the same page.
Now we got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, go.
All right, so my legitimate question on this is that, let's say, for instance, you have like a Russell Wilson versus a Patrick Mahomes, or an Aaron Rodgers versus a Roethlisberger, or Rodgers versus Mahomes, and let's say one or both of those quarterbacks test positive for COVID. What do you think the NFL does? Does the NFL look at this and be like, okay, now our 2 stars that we're going to be in the Super Bowl now have COVID, and do we reschedule this Super Bowl? Or do you think they go, the backups are going to play? So really, and I'll start with Vic on this one. Vic, what do you think what is your honest opinion? What do you think the NFL would actually do?
I do love how you threw Rodgers in there twice.
I was just throwing it out there.
That's the first thing I noticed. You threw him in there twice. So that's kudos for that. I think Roger Goodell is so money hungry that he would try to push it out a week. But I don't think that it would actually happen. I think they'd have to actually play with whoever's healthy. As well, I think it should. I mean, that's, injuries happen. What if they tear their ACL in the playoff in the semifinal or the final? You're not going to wait for that to heal. You're not going to wait for that to get better. So your big star's out.
No, I'm just looking. I'm just looking at the situation that it's the Super Bowl, and people are there to watch the stars play. And so, yeah, right now you're looking at the season and they're like, oh, okay, maybe we can push a game back. If a game's scheduled on Thursday night and some people have COVID, okay, we can push them back to Sunday, get some people healthy and get them out there. That's fine. But now you're talking about the Super Bowl, to where if somebody gets COVID, you really can't push that out because people are ready for it on that day. So, J-Mac, what is your take on that? What do you think that the NFL would actually do if the quarterbacks were to test positive?
But you got to look at this from more than just a gameplay standpoint. Like, it's a business too. And so you're talking about a stadium that's, if they are allowing fans in the stands, you're talking about all those tickets that people have already pre-bought. They've already planned all of these trips, all these vacations to go to the Super Bowl. So now you're going to have to refund all that or give them all that money back and reschedule them for another time when those people might not be able to get off work for the next time. So you look at this purely from a business standpoint, the game's got to go. I mean, you have to play it because of all this money you stand to lose to push that game out. And the ads that you have that those companies have ready to roll that day, like looking from the business side of it, it would be business suicide to try to push that game out.
Well, I get what you're saying, but if you're a fan of both those teams, and if Rodgers got COVID and Mahomes got COVID or whatever, look at the players you would have in a backup. You would end up having a Tim Boyle versus a Matt Moore in the Super Bowl. And
I mean,
I don't think fans are really going to want to see that. And I know what you're saying on a business aspect, but I honestly think fans would be like, really? We really have to watch a Tim Boyle versus a Matt Moore?
Okay, but the same thing. So you look at it from a different way. What if the star running back that they want to watch goes down and gets COVID? Are they going to push the game out for the running back? Like, I get that the quarterbacks are the big names. I understand that. I'm not saying that they're not. But there's more favorite players than just quarterbacks. And so if another big name's going to be out with COVID too, are they going to push the game back? Or are we just doing this just strictly on the fact that it's quarterbacks? And it doesn't make any sense. You're going to play the game no matter what. That's where I think the NFL is going to stand on it. If you're asking me my opinion, that's what I think. I think, like Vic said, Goodell is so money hungry. He wants all the revenue he can get. He's not going to take and lose any money from all those people booking those hotels. Because you can't tell me that the host city for that Super Bowl isn't giving the NFL some kickback for all the revenue they're bringing in for that weekend or that whole week.
No, I get what you're saying, but Vic, do you kind of understand what I'm saying though too? If like fans are showing up to a Super Bowl, they're not going to want to see like a Tim Boyle versus a Matt Moore on the big stage. Like they're going to want to see the stars go at it. That's why they're there. They want to see the stars.
Well, you're there again. You're assuming that Mahomes or Rodgers is the only star that's going to be on the field. I mean, you got if we're talking that, if you got the Seahawks, you got Lockett, you got Metcalf, you got Wagner, you got you got star players, just not the boom in your face star potential. Football fans want to see a football game, and if it's a good game, if like I was saying before, if one of them gets hurt, that's something other than COVID. They're going to push it out for that? No, they're going to play the game. They're there to watch a football game, and we can't just base it on just a big name that's out because there's other stars on the field. Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu. They're all out there. So it's an insult to them to want to push the game back because they're not a big enough star. That's going to cause discord in the locker room as well because they want to feel that they're important too.
Yeah, because just to hit on what you're saying, Vic, is you're talking about if it's a good game, football fans are going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember the World Series and how they were talking about there was more fans that watched a Thursday night football game that starred what were the two teams? It was the Jets and what team did they play that was
Bengals?
really bad?
Was the Bengals or
something like the Jets and the Bengals? How bad those teams were, and they got a higher draw for ratings than Game 5 of the World Series did.
Yeah.
As long as it's a football game, football fans want to watch it. I don't think they really care who's playing. I'm not. They don't care at all, but
not every fan at the Super Bowl is a fan of the team there.
Well, right,
correct.
And I will say that I would not. I would be really, really upset if I was looking to go forward to the Super Bowl. Would I be disappointed if my favorite player wasn't playing? Of course I would. Of course I'd be disappointed. But I'd be even more disappointed if the NFL comes and says, oh, yeah, well, we know you had a hotel planned and you had all this stuff done, but you have to cancel all that. We'll give you all your money back. You got to ask for next week off instead of this week from work, and you got to show back up to watch the Super Bowl next week.
And hope that a flight's not booked,
and hope that a flight's not booked. Yeah, exactly. I just think it'd be a nightmare if they did that. You'd have to do it way early, and there's no way to know with COVID. I don't think you can. But I do see what you're saying. I do agree with you, Ace, that yes, would you be disappointed that those players weren't there? Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely, you'd be disappointed. You would be let down. I totally agree with that. But I don't think from an NFL standpoint it would be a good move on their part.
Yeah, Amen. And I'm not saying that the NFL would. I just think that there's a lot of conversation about what would the NFL do, because as we've seen right now, they're even talking about that if it leads to cancellations at this point in time in games, because coming up soon, the bye weeks are going to run out. So they're going to run out of bye weeks to where they can make up games if they have to cancel them because players are testing positive for COVID. So then instead of going to their original 14 teams, they're talking about going up to a 16-team playoff. And that format will look completely a heck of a lot different than what it looks like now. And so I'm just looking at these situations going, what else would the NFL possibly change? Because I know that the NFL wants to make money. They want the fans to enjoy the game so they don't lose viewership. So that's the only reason I'm looking at the situation going, what else would they possibly change? We don't know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. It's all there. It all makes sense. But I don't agree with going to 8 teams on each side just because you canceled some games. I mean, it happened. So you're telling me that you'd rather see a team say 2 games that the whole season get canceled at the end of the season. You would rather watch an 8th seeded team get in through 14 games that is 6-8 versus actually watching some playoff teams that deserve to be in. You'd rather watch a 6-8 team get in the playoffs just because COVID canceled a couple games. I don't want to watch that.
Right?
I don't want to watch some 8th team get in just because of COVID. Like, let's just give them a playoff spot. They didn't earn it. So I don't agree with that format at all.
All right. So going to the next topic now. Our next topic of the night is actually going to be who we believe was the top 5 NFL draft busts of all time. Last time I started was Vic. So this one, you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll start out with this one then, since I went with J-Mac and then Vic. So my 5th one might actually surprise you a little bit because he was actually a kicker. And the only reason I put him on this list is because as a kicker, now keep in mind, this guy was a kicker, and he was drafted 11th overall. The Saints drafted him 11th overall, and in his career, in his 4-year career as a kicker, he kicked 4 field goals in his career. And keep in mind, this was the same draft that Joe Montana was drafted in. So this guy was drafted over Joe Montana as a freaking kicker. How many times have we seen a kicker get drafted in the first round? And his name was actually Russell Erzenblom. So, how many times have you seen a kicker get drafted in the first round? I should say kicker / punter, because that's what he was. But when a kicker gets drafted in the first round, you expect him to do something. You don't expect him to make 4 career field goals in 4 years. especially when you pass up on a Hall of Famer like Joe Montana. So, I don't know. You figure that one out. Number 4 on my list was actually a wide receiver, and his name is Charles Rogers. He was number 4 on my list. And the reason why Charles Rogers was on my list, now, keep in mind, he did get drafted by Detroit. So yes, they've had some bad
Kiss of death.
luck with drafting player. Charles Rogers was actually the third wide receiver that the Lions drafted in 3 consecutive years in the first round. Do you know the other 2 receivers that they drafted in the first round?
It was Roy Williams,
and Calvin Johnson. And Carlos Rogers. So those were the 3 that they drafted in the first round. How many of them actually amounted to anything? Well, really, the only guy who really did in that was Calvin Johnson. So this guy was a huge disappointment. All right, so then we'll go to, and this pains to say, whenever I have to put a Green Bay Packer in the top 5, it pains me because I know of how bad of a choice we made. But Tony Mandrick.
Gross.
The number 2 overall pick was supposed to. Yes, it is gross because this guy was the number 2 overall pick in the first round, and he was supposed to be what Sports Illustrated said was going to be the next greatest offensive line ever. That's what they had him sought at.
They lied.
Yeah, they definitely lied. He was out of the league in the following year. He didn't even last long. So that was a wasteful pick. Now, keep in mind, the pick right after him was the Lions. And the Lions in that same draft, their next pick, they chose Barry Sanders. So we took Tony Mandrick over Barry Sanders. That pains me to say that hurts.
That
really hurts.
That
really stings. That's really bad. My number 2 draft bust of all time, Jamarcus Russell.
Yep.
Now, I know a lot of people probably would put him at number 1, but I really don't think you can yet. Yeah, Jamarcus Russell is the biggest draft bust since my number 1 pick. But Jamarcus Russell, he was bad. And now keep in mind, for a while, he held out to get more money for the Raiders because they thought he was their future at quarterback. And then what ended up happening? Nothing. They gave him money and he sucked. So they got nothing for him in return, pretty much. So my number 1 NFL draft bust of all time. You guys probably know where I'm going with this. I said it quite often. My number 1 draft bust of all time was Ryan Leaf. Is there really any other way to go? I really don't think there is.
He's up there.
He's what?
He's up there. Yeah.
Well, he's got to be number 1.
Plus, he's a Cougar. So I mean, come on.
The only other person that missed my top 5 close was Tim Couch. He was close. It looked like you were going to say something on that.
I was going to say, but is it really Tim Couch's fault? Like, they rushed the Cleveland Browns back to the league in 1999, and then they're like, oh, we're going to take Tim Couch first overall. And then had no plan for – they had Butch Davis as a coach. Their top player was Tim Couch. They had no offensive line, no defensive line. Like, you look at this team, it was just bound to fail from the beginning.
Yeah, but people are blaming Tim Couch for how bad they were because they said that Cleveland could have potentially been a good team, but they said that Tim Couch made that team way worse than what they should have been.
Oh God, just
but
gross.
Before we go to the next person, Mess Around actually threw his five out there, so I'll tell you really quick what his 5 are.
They better be good.
So number 5, he said, was Brian Bosworth, which, yeah, he could be in the top 5. I do agree with that one. Number 4, I laughed about this because he had to go with a Chicago Bear player, and he actually chose Kevin White as a biggest draft bust. And I don't know. He might make the top 5. It's close. Number 3, Kajana Carter. Yeah, you could potentially throw him in the top 5. That's a good one. You could throw him in there. Number 2, he had Ryan Leaf at number 2.
Who's he got number 1?
Number 1, he's got Jamarcus Russell.
You could probably argue either way, honestly.
You could. Okay, so this one I'll go with Vic. Vic, who's your top 5?
Oh, y'all left me with a big mess to clean up here. Number 5, we're going with the Cleveland Browns. 3rd overall pick in 2012, Mr. Trent Richardson.
What?
He was horrible. He was horrible. He wasn't a beast from Alabama.
He was good for Cleveland.
I think he was blind, wasn't he?
He busted with the Browns and he busted with the Colts. Okay, let it go. I have like a Cleveland Brown theme kind of going on. Number 4,
Money Manziel.
Johnny Football. Yeah, he was horrible. He was a waste of a draft pick, and they should be forever hateful of themselves for letting that happen. Number 3, Jamarcus Russell. Because it's Jamarcus Russell. I don't really gotta.
Right.
There's no explanation for that. Number 2, are you ready? Vince Young. He was big in college, and then he turned out to be a non-threat and ended up somewhere in Canada. Number 1 was rough. I was torn between 2 different ones, but Ryan Leaf or Rick Meyer. I can't decide. They're both horrible. Probably gonna go Ryan Leaf because he's a Husky. Because he's a Cougar, and I hate the Cougars. So yeah, Ryan Leaf. Yeah. I heard he's back in jail. So good job, Ryan.
Right. Good job, Ryan Leaf.
Good future.
J-Mac.
All right.
Lay it out there.
Number 5, Mandrich. I don't even want to talk about this disgusting pick that we had.
Gross.
We wasted a pick. We could add Barry Sanders. Oh. Could you imagine if we paired Barry Sanders and Brett Favre together? But no, we got to go out and get Tony freaking Mandrich. And then look what happened from there. That's all I got to say. That one still irritates me to this day like no end. We could have had Brett Favre and Barry Sanders together, along with Sterling Sharp. Oh, my God. Could you imagine that team?
That's 7 Super Bowls right there. You could have won.
Dang it. No, but we got Tony Mandrich. So there you go. Number 5. Number 4.
J-Mac smash.
Number 4. Kajana Carter.
Oh.
The guy was awful. He led Penn State to the Rose Bowl and then went to Cincinnati, stole a bunch of money from Cincinnati, and was nothing after that. Number 3, Akili Smith.
Hey!
I'm sorry. I knew you were going to say that. Vic.
It was Cincinnati. Come on. That's like being drafted by the Browns. It's not really their fault.
I just think about these picks. Cincinnati had Akili Smith, followed by Kajana Carter, followed by Jeff Blake. I mean, that's just like 3 in a row that all could be in the top 5, honestly. Number 2, Jamarcus Russell. Yeah, but the only thing I could say that hasn't been said about Jamarcus Russell yet is this is a guy that the coaches knew he wasn't watching film, gave him blank tapes, came back the next day and told the coaches, yep, I watched every package on those tapes. That's how bad Jamarcus Russell was.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't care. He didn't care. And number 1, Ryan Leaf, a horrible player with a horrible attitude and an even worse human being. The guy stole oxycodone from his own grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why he's in jail now. So way to go, Ryan. Way to go. Consensus pick for the worst draft picks of all time.
So
I like it.
So Nate the Great left a comment
Oh,
and
gosh.
said, "What do you have against BYU?"
I'm not sure where you're coming from with that, Nate. So
I'm
we
not
weren't talking
exactly
about
sure.
BYU.
I don't like them. I think their uniforms are ugly. That's what I have against them.
So where are we going next, Ace?
So
Move on.
our next topic of the night is we're going to actually pick our top 5 our top 5 goalies of all time in the NHL. Before we do that, so Vic, there's actually another shout out for you. Brandon
Yeah.
Herrera. Brandon Herrera actually says, "Wow, Vic, you went with Vince Young."
I did.
And I think he was shocked that you went with Vince Young in your top 5.
Because I hate all things Tennessee Titans.
And
he sucked.
And Nate the Great, you actually have a shout out for you from Mess Around, and he says BYU's trash. So I decided to give you a shout out on that one. Okay. So I will actually go ahead and I will actually start with J-Mac on this one. So go ahead and give me your top 5 goalies of all time.
I love it because this was my topic that I picked. Yeah. And I get this one first. So, all right, a couple of these are going to surprise you because unless you're an actual hockey fan, a couple of these names you won't know. But a couple of them, I'm telling you, there was no one that ever did it better than a few of these guys.
You probably have some of the same as me.
I'm sure I do. Because we're both Red Wing fans, and let's face it, you know there's going to be some in there. So,
oh, absolutely.
Number 5, probably the oldest guy in this list, the guy that played the longest amount of time ago. That, unless you're a hockey fan, you won't know him. But it was actually Jacques Plante.
Okay.
Played back in the 50s, but when he retired, he had every goalie record that there was. We'll get to that Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence in a minute, but let me go through that. So that's number 5. Number 4, Terry Salt. Again, an older goalie, not a lot of people know about unless you really watch hockey. But this is a guy you want to talk about. In his career, he had 600 stitches in his face and played through
That's
it.
a big face.
Well, that's accounted through all of his career. But still, this is back when they didn't have all the protection they have now. So now here's a guy. So no, number 3. And it was hard. I will tell you 3 through 1 was so hard because any of these guys could be in any position. So number 3 was Martin Brodeur. 691 career wins, 125 career shutouts, 24 career playoff shutouts. One of the best to ever do it. No doubt. This guy was a winner everywhere he played. Just an unreal goalie. Number 3, say it with me. Say it louder for everyone in the back. Dominik Hasek.
Yeah.
Again, one of the best to ever do it. Just an unreal talent at goalie. And number 1, Patrick Waugh. Probably the best goalie in the history of the NHL. And the reason is because he was a winner and he was good. So that's my top 5.
All right.
That's a good top 5.
So, J-Mac, in your top 5, pretty much you had a few guys the same as me. So when it came to my top 5, I put at my number 5, though, I actually put Bill Duran. And the reason I put Bill Duran is because if you think about Bill Duran, he has to be in the top 5. This dude, multiple times in his career, pitched 4 consecutive shutouts in a row. So when you have 4 shutouts in a row as a goalie in 4 consecutive games, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard to do once, let alone 4.
Yeah, it's true. He would have been 6 on my list, but I mean, yeah, he's right there.
So number 4, Martin Brodeur. I put him at number 4. And honestly, my only note on this one is, this one's really simple. What does he have left to accomplish? Nothing. He's accomplished everything. He's got nothing left to prove. Nothing left.
Yep.
Number 3, and honestly, it feels good to know that I have 2 Red Wings in my top 5. Dominic Hasek. How can he not be in the top 5? You touched on him before, so we all know top 5. Number 2, Terry Sowick. He was number 2. I put him at number 2. I think you had him at what, 3?
I had him at 4, but yeah.
4, yeah. I just think he was slightly better than Hasek. Not much, but slightly better. And then number 2, Patrick Waugh. You can't go anywhere else with it. You just can't. He's undeniably the best goalie of all time. And to me, it's not even close. Not even close. No. All right, Vic, what's your top 5?
Oh, let me tell you. This was tough. All right. I'm going to go number 5. We have Julie the Cat Gaffney from the Mighty Ducks. No? Are we doing real hockey or fake hockey?
If that's your 5, that's your 5. I mean, is what it is.
No.
We've had worse on the network, so it doesn't matter.
All right, number 5. I'm going to go a little old school. I'm going to go some Ken Dryden from the Montreal Canadiens.
Good pick.
He had the freaky mask, the Jason mask that scared me, and I watched him because it scared me, and I liked it. Number 4, we're gonna bust out with a Tony Esposito of the Canucks, the Canadiens, and the Blackhawks. He played a long time. Didn't have a cool mask, but he played a long time. Number 3, we're going to bust out Mr. Terry Sawchuk. Is that how you say it? Sawchuk?
It's something close to that, yeah.
Yeah, he played for like 5 or 6 teams for like 20 years. The dude was an animal, and he didn't have his own teeth anymore.
Red Wings.
Number 2, Martin Brodeur of the New Jersey Devils, because I just like the New Jersey Devils, because it's cool. And then number 1, I was torn on number 1. I was torn. It was either Patrick Waugh or Greg Goldberg. But I went with Patrick Waugh of the Montreal Canadiens and the Colorado Avalanche, because it's Patrick Waugh. There's no other reason. He's awesome. And I like him. He has a cool name.
Vic, I'm glad you threw Greg Goldberg in there. Because, and the only reason I'm saying that is because Brandon Herrera actually left a comment and said that you said
Julie Cat. Well, Ace is frozen.
Frozen. I almost said Steve Janicek. You know who he is?
Of course.
Okay. Are you just saying that, or you really know?
Mm-hmm.
I watch hockey, and I don't just watch hockey, but you know what, Vic? Sometimes you say things, and you make me want to walk off set. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? Again, repping the USA shirt because we can be different and still get along. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to have a different of opinion. Because in the
I
end,
just picked him because gold medal. Come on, miracle, Olympics.
well, yeah, of course, you could pick there is 20 different players you could have picked for the top 5, and none of them would have been wrong. None of them would have been wrong because it's one of those things. That's why it's sports. It's debatable. It's an opinion, and that's okay. More people should. This is a thing where more people should be. We should be tolerant of other people's choices, other people's opinions. That's all I'm saying.
No matter how ludicrous they are.
Right. But they're right in your own mind, so why should I tell you you're wrong? Why should I be allowed to do that? And ridicule you for it. That's the problem. The problem is not that I disagree with you, but that you would ridicule someone else for their choices. That's not okay.
I threw the Mighty Ducks in as a joke.
Hey, no, it's fine. But you know what? Hey, they were both great goalies.
They were.
You know
they
what?
Real.
30 years ago, they weren't real, but hey, it's all right. A lot of people say that the Jets aren't a real football team, but hey, here we are.
Exactly.
So,
but yet they still keep playing.
They keep playing. So real quick, let's touch on this real quick before we end. Maybe Ace will jump back in. We're having some technical difficulties there, but we'll get you caught up on that. Real quick, we had a comment on there that said Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. Now, Vic, if you're a GM and you have the first pick in the draft, which looks like it's going to the Jets, let's be honest. Are you picking Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence first overall?
That's a tough one. The Jets don't have a good track record, so whoever I pick as a Jets person, they should go the opposite way. But I would go. I go Trevor Lawrence just for arm strength, and he's been to the big show twice, won one, lost one, so he knows how to get there. He knows how to run a team. Until Justin Fields can do that, I think Trevor's got to go number one.
And I agree with you. I think he's going to be the hands down favorite to be the number one overall pick. But let me ask you this. If you're a team like the Giants, for instance, and you have the second overall pick, which is a possibility for them, by the way.
Yeah.
And you have Daniel Jones, who we touched on yesterday, or Monday night, on Monday night. And you have Daniel Jones sitting there, and you have the number 2 pick, and you have a Justin Fields sitting there. Are you taking Justin Fields, or are you rolling with Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones is a trash on fire, man. He's a dumpster fire. I'd drop him like a hot chicken and grab up Justin Fields. But they won't. That's what I would do. Cut your losses.
Ace, if you can hear me, let me hear you on that one. So if you're first overall and you're the Jets, are you taking Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, honestly, Trevor Lawrence would be one pick overall. But the thing is there's a lot of speculation going around. It's both.
He sounds like a really bad rave.
Yeah. So then, if you can hear me and answer this one, the other thing we talked about, Vic and I, was if you're the Giants, you got the number 2 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence is off the board. You got Daniel Jones, who you think is your future, or you can draft Justin Fields. What are you doing?
He hasn't had enough time to. This is only his second year, Jets right now, he's been garbage as a turnover machine. But if you're the Giants, you cannot quite give up on Daniel Jones yet. So with that being said, I don't think you can take a Justin Fields. I think you got to stick with the Daniel Jones.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. That
Yeah.
that's why we are not GMs. That's why we sit here and do this, because we're probably better talking about it than actually making the decision. Just my opinion on that one.
Now, I was going to say we do have a comment that somebody commented and said, if you're the Jets at number 2, and you know that basically the top 2 players in the draft is quarterbacks, and you're sitting at number 2, so the Jets, I'm sorry, yes. So the comment was about the Jets. If you know you're probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, you have a Sam Darnold, you think he's your future, why don't you trade the number 1 pick? Because you can probably get a lot in return on that number 1 pick. So what do you guys think on that one? I think if you're the Jets, though, I think you have to keep it. Regardless if you're going to keep a Sam Darnold or not, I think you have to keep that number 1 pick to try and build around him. What's your guys' take on that?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting take, because what can you get for a Sam Darnold, like you're saying? So do you keep the number 1 pick depending on what you can get? Now, if I can go down to Atlanta, and I can pull off I can pull off a Julio Jones, and I can pull off a couple other good, solid players from there, am I going to do it? I mean, I might think about it. It depends on what I can get for that number 1 pick, on whether I'm going to keep it or trade it away.
I just don't think Sam Darnold is the future. I don't think he's got it. He's had quite a few time to show what he can do, and I don't know if it's just the curse of the Jets or the curse of the Trojan quarterbacks. But he's not the guy to take the Jets to the next level.
Well, I think the one issue that you can look at, especially this year, is who has Sam Darnold really had receiver-wise? He hasn't really had anybody. This year, you can say, he's had a Jamison Crowder, but that's about it. Other than that,
but who is Fitzpatrick had in Miami to throw to?
Devontae Parker.
He's got a Devontae Parker. He's got a Preston Williams.
Mike Gesicki.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't believe Sam Darnold's the answer.
Well, I'm not saying that Sam Darnold is like the best quarterback out there, but what I'm trying to say though is that he hasn't had enough weapons yet to see exactly what he could do if he had people around him. He hasn't had it. The only really decent receiver I would say he really had was Robbie Anderson. That was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You make a point. All right.
So other than that, I really don't think we have anything else left to say. So besides that, I'll go ahead and I'll start with J-Mac. J-Mac, I'll give you about 30 seconds to say whatever you have left to say.
Okay. Let's all remember, we all live in the same country. Let's all get along. Let's all be tolerant of each other. By the way, 1 p.m. Central Time this Sunday, Rob Parker, the one, the only Rob Parker from Fox Sports, will be on the ASAP network. So a great interview we got going on there. We got our top analysts going on there to be on there with him. So everyone look forward to that. Tune in and enjoy. Y'all have a good night.
Vic, I'll give you about 30 seconds.
Same thing that J-Mac said, everybody's got their own opinions. Everybody got their own beliefs. Trust in yourself and don't push your views onto somebody else. Be you. Watch out for others. Take care. Love each other. Be positive. That's all we can do right now. Thanks for watching. Way to go, Vikings. Woo!
All right. So with that being said, I want to give I just want to let everybody know, thanks for watching, especially all of our loyal viewers out there. And please comment, because the more you comment, the better chance you have at winning a free shirt. And even if you can't comment, just go out and buy one of those awesome shirts. It's just $25 plus shipping and handling. That's all it costs, and they are awesome shirts. I swear you will like them.
They're so cool.
They are so cool. You will like them.
Hey, and a special shout out to our producer, the one, the only Nate the Great.
Nate the Great, yes.
Couldn't
give a shout out to him.
We could not do this without you, buddy.
Even though you're a Broncos fan, I still like you.
All right, so with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching. Everybody have a great night. So tomorrow is Thursday. So with that being said, tomorrow night we have Real Talk, and you'll be seeing Freddie, Chris, and Coach Cam. So come out, watch the show, and have a great time. And we will see you all for Sports Minute again on Saturday. So have a great night, everybody.
Go Ducks.
Peace out.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.